How do you normally listen to a gospel-related video? There's 3 different ways that you could listen to it. One is just putting it on while you're doing something else. And generally, within a day, you're going to forget almost everything that you heard. The second way would be to actually take notes. You have to have a way that it's easy so that you can take the notes quickly while you're listening. The third way, though, is the most powerful. That's being an active learner, and that's what this video is about to demonstrate. My name's Oak Norton, and I'm here with scripturenotes.com. If you want to check this out afterward, that's the tool that I'm using. So this past week, I was listening to a video by a gentleman named Michael Rush. You may recognize him. I did a webinar with him earlier this year, and he is kind of known for what's called the Ezra's Eagle interpretation out of the Apocrypha. This was a 2-hour update video that he did, and when I listen to something on YouTube, a lot of times I will speed it up to like 1.5 to 2 times speed, depending on how fast the speaker is speaking and how fast I can process it. And so with this, I was listening, in that range, which cuts a 2-hour video down to an hour and 20 minutes or so. But I pause frequently when I'm doing this. So it really takes me about 6 hours to go through a video like that. It's kind of similar to Come Follow Me videos, but it's those take less time because they're all clumped into a certain section of the scriptures talking about, so many books or chapters out of a book of scripture. Whereas this video was all over the place because it was topical. So when you listen to something topically, you're going to have to open up a lot more content as you're doing this. So you'll find yourself pausing frequently to be able to do those kinds of things so that you can open and close panes, do searches, create collection notes from what you're seeing, and dig into things deeper before you move on to the next piece of information in that presentation. And sometimes I have to add things to my to-do study list. So it's handy that Scripture Notes has a to-do list built right into it so that you can make those kind of notes as well. But the nice thing about Scripture Notes is you never lose your place while you're doing this. So let me just demonstrate what my screen looked like here when I finished listening to his video. I had all these panes of content open as I was reading things and making notes. And you can see there's just a ton of stuff that I've got open, including my to-do list out here on the side. And the awesome thing is I never lost my place, and I probably closed twice as many windows as what you see are open here. Now, in doing this, it's incredibly powerful because every time somebody that's speaking, in this case it was Michael, every time somebody is talking about a certain piece of content or a topic, I can pause the video, and I've got a keyboard that has a play pause button, which is super handy. If you don't have that on your keyboard, you just have to use your mouse and alt tab over to the program or whatever to pause the video. But it's great because I can just hit my keyboard button, pause the video, and open up all kinds of stuff to study what he's talking about. Because I don't want to just be listening to something. I want to know, what's actually in the scriptures. And, there's lots of great speakers. Michael's one of them that does a wonderful job showing what's actually in the scriptures. But I want to see the context. I want to dig in deeper. So if, something is mentioned about restoration, I might open up the Bible dictionary here and look at restoration scriptures. And so it's just that's how you become an active learner, and you go deeper and you make somebody else's knowledge your own, because it's not enough to just say, I'll listen to what they've studied and not do any of my own work. You've got to put in some effort to try and remember those things. And I don't have a great memory. I shouldn't say that, self-fulfilling prophecy and all that, but I'm working on it. I should say I'm working to improve my memory. But in the meantime, until I have a perfect photographic memory, Scripture Notes is my go-to tool because I can record everything that I deem interesting and something insightful. And then I can also create, like right here, here's a clump of verses that I'm about to study. There's 137 verses that use the word restore in some form. Restore, restoration, restored, and so on. And so I just created this collection note of those verses so that I can come in here later and do my studies. Just like back here at the beginning, you may have noticed I've got a collection note here about antichrists in Scripture. And so I just started going through all these verses. I've got 104 verses here, including, what was in the Bible dictionary. I created a collection note from it and put it all in here so that I could go through these verses and identify things about antichrists in Scripture. And so you can, manipulate this window to make it bigger or smaller as you type and all that. Anyway, it's super handy to study this way and create these collections of verses that you want to study from. Now, sometimes staying organized is a little bit tricky because you're opening stuff up, and you never lose your place, but sometimes you're going back to something and you say, I want to open up a search pane or another reading pane right next to where I am. And if you just hit the buttons over here on the left, it's going to throw that way over on the right. And so if you've got a lot of panes open, sometimes that's a little tricky. So here's a shortcut that you can do. And I'll just demonstrate this. Like, here's Isaiah 51. Right next to it is this little eye icon that pops up a tooltip. And it says if you alt-click, it's going to open this up in a new pane. And if you control-click, it'll open it up in a new tab. And this works on almost every link in the program. So if I come over here and I say, you know what, I just want another reading pane right next to this chapter, chapter 51. I'm going to hold down on my Alt key and click chapter 52, and it's going to open it up right here next to where I'm reading. Now I might say, I don't want to lose anything here, but I want to have a completely separate train of thought. I'm just going to control click. I'll do it on chapter 50 here, the previous chapter, or over here. I will control click, and it's going to open up a brand new browser tab. You can see up here in my browser tabs, I've got a new one open, and it's right there where I clicked on chapter 50 of Isaiah. So that makes it really powerful to be able to navigate around. I can open it up here, and if I said, you know what, I don't want to have this chapter open, I'm going to go to my library, and I'm going to go to the New Testament, and I'm going to go to Luke chapter 10. Well, now it's going to refresh this pane with Luke chapter 10. And so I was able to not throw that new pane way over on the right and have to bring it back over here, dragging and dropping the pane, and I just put it right where I wanted. Now there's other resources, when you're digging into the scriptures, and I said, you want to pause as you're an active learner doing this stuff. Each chapter, a lot of chapters have this resource button here, and you can come in and find numerous things right there about that chapter or about things other people are presenting. These are Come Follow Me podcasts for the most part right now. Or you can say, okay, this particular verse, I want to dig in here. I want to see other translations of this verse. I could go to Bible Hub. I could go to the Blue Letter Bible and look up the Greek and Hebrew definitions of words, and I can go to the LDS Citation Index project, or I could see the Joseph Smith translation. And so there's a lot of resources built right in here that allow you to dig deeper, including, as I mentioned before, like the Bible Dictionary and Topical Guide study helps. So if I wanted to study about the Antichrist, I could just come in here and say, show me all the resources, type the word anti, and it's going to find all of the various terms that contain ANTI. And so when I was working on that other collection note, I just used these couple of resources to pull open all the scriptures related to that and be able to study it from there. Now, sometimes, going back to the very beginning of this video, I said kind of the weakest way to study is to just listen to a podcast. I do that, when I'm driving or exercising. I'll listen to a podcast if I'm not listening to something else. And what I do when I hear something interesting, one of two things. If it's a short insight, I'll just hit pause up on my dashboard and I'll grab my phone, unlock it, and I'll just hit the button that lets me record so I don't take my eyes off the road. I can just say, okay, record this for later, and boom, I can save that thought and listen to it later. And if it's something that's way more involved and I just realize, oh, I need to be sitting in front of my computer to listen to this later, I'll just hit stop and I'll listen to something else the rest of the way to work or home or whatever until I can get to a computer and pull, or to my mobile phone app and actually listen to what is being said and be more active. So if you have to be kind of a passive listener, just use that pause button on the app and record those insights so that you don't lose them. Because even if you're going to forget what you've recorded, you've at least recorded it, so that when you come back to that verse in another week or month or 10 years, sometimes I've come back to things that I recorded 15, 20 years ago and thought, holy cow, I can't believe, I'm so glad I recorded this, because it was like personal revelation to me, some insight into the scriptures that I wouldn't have gotten in any other way. So just don't be afraid to use that pause button, get to your computer later and record those insights. So if this video was helpful, please click like and subscribe to help other people find it better. And be sure to try this out on your own by getting an account at scripturenotes.com. See you next time.